Boomer Zoomers, Boomer Zoomers, Boomer Zoomers, Boomer Zoomers. Connecting through Zoom is the way to go. So let's dive right in. It's Boomer Zoomers.
Man, I love that jingle, but what I love more is our beloved seniors down at the Charlestown Senior Center. And we welcome our Boomer Zoomers back to In the Dugout. Bill, Isabella, who do you have with you today?
Well, to my immediate left is the well-tanned and well-vacationed Bill Cumbie. And to the left of him is the innumerable.
Bill, move in a little, Bill, move in a little. Yep.
And to the left of Bill Cumbie is the innumerable Ken McCourt, and he's a regular with us now, so you'll see him twice a month. And the reason I have him here, Sten, is that Ken has some of the corniest jokes you've ever heard in your life, and he adds greatly to our weekly discussion. So I thought he would be a good man to follow up with every week.
Plus the real
reason. The reason you got Bill Cumbie and Ken McCourt, they're playing ball and they're wearing caps today. Bill, what's your cap?
The reason why I got Bill Cumbie is because nobody else wanted to volunteer. So
Well,
said
that's why
help with
he's
the
got,
Bill.
he's got Ken, because Ken was the only one suffered into it.
Bill Cumbie, what's your cap? Bill Cumbie.
Mike is my main cap.
Main cap. And Ken, what do you have on today?
Benny's.
All right, Benny's, yeah.
All right, but I got something extra, if you'll bear with me.
Oh,
If you can see this.
little.
This is-
Little to the right. Or the other way.
There we go.
This is a Benny's farewell tour T-shirt that on the back, it has a list of all the towns that had a Benny's store in them. I'm gonna have this framed like when you retire a number from a team of some kind.
And by the way, Ken is still looking. Ken is still looking for the neighborhood Benny store, and he said he'll find it today. So.
No, I know. I had two of them. The one in Wakefield is a job lot, and the one in North Kingstown has been converted into a community center. So it's as if the Benny stores are still here. They just look different.
Yeah. Well, we miss our Bennies around here. All right, Bill, Isabella, we want to talk about Memorial Day.
Yep.
We just celebrated it this past weekend. What is your point here?
Well, my point is that I'm not so sure that we understand what Memorial Day, why we're observing Memorial Day, other than the fact that it's a day off from work or a holiday and hot dogs and hamburgers and all that. But we celebrate Memorial Day in reference to the fact that so many men and women over the years have given their lives so we can have the country that we have today. Do we understand that? Do we practice patriotism? Are the deaths of all these countless people, are they worthy are we worthy of their death? And that's where I want to focus in on today. And also we're going to talk about the second topic we'll have is these Pride months. I am sick and tired of these Pride months. Today is day one of Pride month. I'm tired of, it's going to be every month is a different group of people and they make exceptions. Why do we have to celebrate these things? Can't we just be all one? We keep dividing ourselves, and now we're dividing ourselves even over a calendar. It's ridiculous.
No, you're right. It's part of identity politics. But let's go back to Memorial Day. Bill Cumbie, Bill, Isabella made a great question. Are we celebrating it properly? I think a lot of people understand that it's about people who died in war, but I don't think a lot of people understand what kind of freedoms and liberties they fought and died for. Your thoughts on that, Bill?
Well, I think over the years, the educational system has won, along with many other things such as media and what's being said in the internet and on the television set, drags away the patriotism and has made it more about me, myself, and I. And so instead of being, as we are as humans, more tribal and relationship oriented, it's trying to divide us. And I think you're right, Bill, in the fact that we don't understand, or the younger generation doesn't understand what it's all about. I remember going to the cemetery on Memorial Day, but it just doesn't happen anymore. It hasn't hit home as to what it really stood for. And it has,
Let me go to Ken. Ken McCourt, what does Memorial Day mean to you? And do you think we're celebrating it in a patriotic enough fashion?
My father went into Omaha Beach on D-Day.
Yeah.
Later, he hooked up with Patton's Third Army. Then when he came home from World War II, he stayed in the reserve, but then he got called up for Korea. So then he was in Korea for a number of years. That when he got out of Korea, he retired as a lieutenant colonel, but he joined the New York City Police Force. And over the years, I have joined my father in going to memorial services for friends of his from the Army, from France, from Germany, and from Korea who have died. That unless you have experienced that firsthand to see the effect on the families, not just the fact that somebody has died, but the effect on the families, you cannot experience that depth of pain to actually want to memorialize it.
Wow,
So
what a great.
We've always gone to these different wakes and ceremonies. And even when my father retired to Florida, that he flew the American flag every day, except when it was raining. You're not supposed to fly in inclement weather. But that was his personal way of honoring all those friends of his who have died.
Let me jump in here for just a second. Relative to today, that's a wonderful story, Ken, but of course your father's long passed.
You gotta get, sorry, Bill, you gotta get closer to the
We're talking about a
microphone
man
here.
that lived a number of years ago. Relative to today, patriotism is something that is losing its flavor. I dare say that every one of my nieces and nephews probably, and I haven't asked them, but I will at some point, they cannot recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, that's fundamental to our country. So where we celebrate the holiday because it's a day off, we don't understand the meaning of the holiday, and that's the point. Patriotism.
Let me show you some maybe good news here. Breitbart did a survey, and they're finding that in recent years, Memorial Day is starting to gain in its importance. It's up 4 points from the year before as one of the most important holidays in America. Some other people I've talked to say, out on the ground, I'm seeing a little bit of resurgence of patriotism. Bill Cumby, do you think this anti-American rhetoric has reached its pinnacle and we might be swinging back towards some pro-American patriotism?
Yeah, I think people, the veil has been pulled back. People are understanding how the government has worked their way into society. And from that, we've learned that we need to get together as people, because we can't trust what we see on TV. We can't trust what we hear on the radio. We have to be able to come together with other folks in order to be able to gain that patriotism or gain that bonding with each other. And that's only done by community and with family and from other people. So I believe we are moving in that direction. It's a slow process. But
Ken, that survey also showed that boomer zoomers like you and me were rated Memorial Day the most important holiday, and the younger people got the less they rated it highly. What do you think explains this generational difference here?
I think it's too much of a time difference between what's happening now and when we had all those different wars, including the Civil War, that we don't have very many survivors of World War, I don't know of any in World War I, World War II, or Korea, so that there's such a time gap that out of sight, out of mind type of thing, so that they're losing contact. And that it needs to be maintained in the families, whether it was an uncle or a great uncle or a father or a mother for that matter. It needs forget that there were women involved that also lost their lives during the wars.
Let me
You know,
jump in for just a second.
That's a great point, Ken.
I think we can confuse something here too, and I think some of this younger generation stuff is, are we relative to Memorial Day, are we conflating nationalism with Memorial Day observances? I think maybe there are people who are nationalistic in their thoughts, which I'm not so sure I particularly care for, because nationalism could lead, as it did in Nazi Germany. Don't forget, the N in Nazi is nationalist. Are we confusing that with patriotism? I think there's a big difference between the two, and I wonder.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that sometime else. All right, we got to switch over to the second topic now. Let me introduce it this way. We celebrate Memorial Day one day, end of May. We celebrate LGBTQ for a whole month called Pride Month, which just starts today, June 1st. Have you talked about this with your group? How does your group and you feel about this, Bill?
We're not particularly thrilled with all these month-long celebrations where manufacturers and retailers of all sorts, and we've seen what's going on with Coca-Cola, Target, and so many others. We've seen what's going on. This is ridiculous. We need to stop selecting specific groups and bringing them to the forefront for an entire month. I mean, I can't open up my web browser. I use Google Chrome, and I can't open it up without there being some kind of a cartoon celebrating this month or that month, Black History Month, Women's Month, Asian Pacific Islander. I mean, this is just, we got to stop this stuff. We need to join people together as opposed to trying to divide them by any means possible. And that's the issue with this month-long Pride stuff. Not just Pride. I want to be sure, not just Pride.
Yeah, all groups. Yes, no special rights for any special groups. That's not equality, right?
Right,
Bill
correct.
Cumby, and this is part of the identity politics game of the left to provide special recognition or special rights to especially politically correct groups. And it divides us, right?
Yes, yes, indeed. In fact, that's the whole purpose behind it. If we look at any of these things that are going on, the reason is from a corporate perspective, because that's who's running the country, is these multinational corporations and bankers. It's not the politicians. So those are the ones dictating what's going on to divide the country. They want division. They want division. So if they want division, they're going to get it by picking out and selecting small groups of people to bring them up and heighten them so other people feel in a way that they're being taken advantage of because others are being recognized. Rather than recognizing everyone as special, let's pull some out to divide everyone. And it's going to continue to happen unless we all do one thing, and that is ignore it.
Yeah.
We have to ignore it, completely ignore it. And that means ignore the people who, and ignore the people who, or the companies that are promoting it. Ignore their product, ignore their companies, ignore the purchasing of any of their products. Completely ignore them, because we want everyone to get together. And the only way that can be done is if someone brings up the topic to say, I don't know anything about it. Sorry, let's move on to the next one.
All right, let's bring in Ken on this. Ken, your thoughts on these month-long celebrations of certain special interest groups?
Right. I don't get an Irish Appreciation Month. I get St. Patrick's Day. As a Christian, I get Christmas Day. I get Easter Day. There are 365 days in the year. Let's name a day. This whole month type of situation is just too much. And if you want to talk about the separation of people, dividing them, and you want to bring in the word racist, the way to stop racism is to stop talking about it. If you don't say it, it doesn't get talked about.
Mr. Freeman said that.
Goodbye. Yes.
I agree. All right, Bill, final word to you. We've been talking about it all week. You've probably heard it. The Los Angeles Dodgers inviting this trans, I don't even know, what do you call them? Drag queens who dress up as nuns and denigrate the Catholic religion. They've invited them back to Dodger Stadium. We just found out today that the California Teachers Union was part of a public pressure campaign to make sure that this alternate style group but it's really pissed off a lot of Catholic players, a lot of Catholics, and a lot of people around the country. It's part of the Pride Month. I don't know if you got any thoughts on the Dodgers specifically, Bill.
Yeah, Mike, I just ask anybody who's listening or anybody who's going to be watching the show at some point, take a look at this photograph. Enough said. This is absolutely ridiculous. As a form of entertainment, drag queens are fine, but not as a form of morality. And that's what they're pushing on us. This went from obscurity at certain supper clubs, things like that, or wherever entertainment. Now it's going to be mainstream. Do we all think our children should grow up to be drag queens? God, I hope not. This is just ridiculous. And where the Dodgers are concerned, baseball, we should be surprised. Isn't baseball the league that pulled out of the Atlanta games a couple of years ago because of their views of homosexuality? I mean, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I know baseball used to be the All-American,
Yeah.
Baseball,
Apple
hot
pie
dogs,
and-
apple
apple
pie
pie
and
and
Chevrolet,
mom.
right? The All-American family
Yeah.
pastime. This is not family. All right. Well, look, we're out of time. I wish we could talk more on all this. But thank you, Bill Isabella, Bill Cumby, Ken McCord, again, for joining us here. And then great topics you guys brought up. I know this wouldn't have flown back in all of our younger days, but it's out there now. But we've got to all stand up and keep speaking out against it. Thank you guys for doing the same thing. Hi, ladies in the background there, Martha and everyone else. Hi to your current events group. Oh, you got all ladies today. You guys are lucky.
We got Peggy, we got my wife, we got Tish. We got a bunch of people.
All right. Hey, Martha. All right. We got to go. Hey, folks, thank you for tuning in today. For In the Dugout, Mike Stenhouse out. See you next game.